Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? Happy Father's Day Sunday to you. If you're a father in my class, happy Father's Day. If you're a single mother raising a child on your own, happy Father's Day. If you've lost a father, happy Father's Day. And I hope you are all having a wonderful day and enjoying memories or spirit or actually out there doing something with the men in your life. Um, Stephen is upstairs working on Father's Day. He's putting in a new sink. I'm like, don't you want to relax on Father's Day? He's like, I want to get in the sink. I'm like, okay. So I am back here with the squirrel who's very active right now. As you can see, I'm going to give her a net because that's what she's begging for. There you go. There you go. And the kitty's on top of the cage, and you can see Opal's over here asleep in the chair. And you probably saw this weird painting, so I'm just going to go ahead and show it to you. This is my son Dylan. There you go. Holding my God baby. And I just thought it was such a funny picture. Dylan, my son, is on tour with Best Coast. He's the drummer for Best Coast. So he's actually getting ready to go out to Chicago for a big music festival. But that picture is just so funny to me. It looks like an Italian movie with him in that coat and the baby. So I got it blown up into a piece of art for the house. So that was kind of fun. Um, I wanted to remind you that we have no discussion board this week. I've given you week 7 with no assignments and no discussion board so you can really finish up reading your tech book and get your book report done because it's such a big part of the class. You are going to hear Lucky in the background. She's being very active this morning. I try to keep the animals, quiet when I'm with you guys, but sometimes they're not going to have it. They want to be part of the video too. So I'd like us to start with your discussion board on the 21st century teachers because I wanted to address things that you guys said. And I really like what you're saying in the discussion board. So first, let's start with Ashley. Ashley, you'd written back to Matthew, by training and by systematic rules with curriculum, I feel like I'm constantly fighting the teacher-centered versus student-centered models. Absolutely. I obviously know what kids need and what is way more fun, but the pressure and questioning to be on the same page at the same time is frustrating. Next year, we'll have a new principal, and I'm hoping he'll just be observing and learning us that I'll get to branch out some without fear of judgment, hopefully. Wow. That whole statement just, I'm sure, hits home with so many people. Let me close the door because Lucky's being really crazy. Earlier this morning, she was calling me and Steven little weirdos. Out of control. African grays are very smart birds. But Ashley, your statement, wow. And I do hope you get a new principal that will spend the first year just learning his teachers and observing without, or her teachers, without just coming in and making random changes and those types of things. For those of us that have been in districts for a long time, we know that there can be some upheaval years at schools and changes that can oftentimes make your job make you feel uncomfortable and add a lot of stress and anxiety about your teaching. And, I was thinking about something when I was reading that. I was doing Catcher in the Rye with my kids this year. And for those of you that remember Catcher in the Rye, there's a lot of cuss words in Catcher in the Rye. And there's that whole chapter where, Holden talks about people graffitiing F you, and he says the words. And where he talks about every time, you love something in life or, you have this wonderful moment in life and somebody comes around and, F U's all over it and ruins it. And so I was in the middle of reading this with my students. And one of my friends, Stephen Heinz, is a voiceover actor in Chicago, based out of Chicago. Funny, we're talking about Chicago today. And anyways, he did a whole voiceover, all of the chapters for Catcher in the Rye. So if any of you use that book and you want it, let me know and I will give it to you because he does all the voices of all the characters in the book. He's unbelievable. So here I am in my classroom. The CTE for my academy is Arts, Media, and Entertainment. And so we've been talking about voiceover acting and, how he's creating ththese characters and we're listening to it. And the kids have really gotten into Catcher in the Rye. And here we are towards the end of the book and we're at this big chapter. The impact is going to be intense. It's a chapter the kids love. They love when Holden's saying F you to this and F you to that, and, teen rebellion. And in walks an unannounced administrative observation with my two principals and three people from the district. And, Ashley, I felt the same way. Here I am following curriculum. Here I am creating this amazing lesson for my students. But then here comes an unannounced visit when they are going to be hearing blasting out of the speakers, F you this and F you that. And that kind of, anti-establishment mentality that we see with Holden. And it was really sad because instead of coming in and becoming involved in it, making the children feel comfortable in the literature, keeping the classroom a place where literature can be explored openly and safely. They came in with very serious faces and note boards and kept disrupting the class and asking the students what they were doing as the voiceover actor was reading. And I was just I was just blown away that we've gotten to this place in education where, like you said, there's this strange systematic big brother kind of mentality that's interrupting and taking away and fragmenting, really good teaching. I think it would have been better if they had sat down and laughed with the kids and enjoyed the chapter with them, or saw that we were in the middle of something, very serious and intimate, and then came back later. But they didn't. And the class that they were in, they told me afterwards they felt very uncomfortable. They felt like they couldn't enjoy the chapter. Could we please read the chapter again? The next class, why weren't they smiling? Why were they making me feel uncomfortable? So I understand what you're talking about. Good teaching is, you know what your kids need, just like you say, and you know how to make it fun and you know how to engage them. And good teaching is building those relationships with young learners so that they want to get education from you. It's not always going to be easy, and you're going to have to fight them on it, and they're not always going to be absolutely 100% interested in what you're teaching. But the point is that you build this relationship of trust so that they follow. And when things like that happen, when you have that fear-based, gosh, am I going to be judged on this? Am I going to be judged on this teaching? Am I going to be judged on that? It makes it very difficult to do what you need to do in the classroom to be a really highly effective teacher. So I just wanted to say you're not alone. I've been teaching for many, many years, and I still feel that same way at times. And so I wanted to share that with you. Okay, let's move on to my next person, which is Tara. And I loved what you were saying about you guys were talking about exit tickets, and I like that too. And I think it is something that you have to figure out how you're going to do that in relation to time. And sometimes lessons just get away from us, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't do my exit ticket. So that is something to consider. I get away on my lessons, and I would probably have a hard time meeting that every single class as well. But there are ways around it. You could do a weekly monitor who collects exit tickets. You could do some type of exit ticket where if they were working with technology, they had to add to a thread before they could leave the class. There's different ways and systems that you could come up with exit tickets that maybe wouldn't take so much time away from you, or something that you wouldn't forget about, and then be like, oh my gosh, I meant to do that. But I get that. I do like the exit ticket idea, but sometimes time does get away from me. So I just wanted to talk about that briefly. Matthew, you were talking about, this was the first time in my career that I did not do table groups all year long. After the first 2 months or so of the school year, it became apparent that this group did not have the self-control to be able to work all day in a group setting. Oh my goodness, yes, I agree. I do not do groups all of the time. And I love my rows. I love my rows, especially when I'm working on CTE with the kids. If we're analyzing film, looking at soundtracks, watching a performance, of course, rows. And when I do group tables, I tend to, at the high school level, I'll let them choose their own groups. the first time. And I'll give them an assignment, a lengthy assignment, and watch to see who's going to work and who's not, and then I move people accordingly. But I totally understand that some years it just happens. It's just it can be a bad mix of personalities. It doesn't mean that they're a bad group of kids. It just means it's a bad group of mix of personalities, and sometimes you have to kind of go back to basics, and maybe you stay in rows, but instead of doing table collaborative work, you just do pair share, where you finish something and then you say, okay, 30 seconds, turn to somebody next to you and pair share. You can do something like that where you're still doing collaboration, but going back to the basics of this is how we behave and this is how we collaborate. Michael, I loved what you said about, I have to admit that I also search online and watch videos to save money and time. I am a DIY person. And when I was thinking about it, and I liked the lesson that you had created, the building the bridge with the craft sticks. That sounds like something I would have loved to do. I would still love to do. But what I liked about what you were saying is it ties in to what we've learned about ed technology, that if you were a remote student or a student that was working under one of the new formats where you were using a computer and moving at education at your own pace, imagine where you would go with that, because you are exactly the type of person that we write that type of ed tech for, where somebody can move on and self-direct and focus on what they like to learn and progress and advance in that way. And so I think that's just good that you recognize that. So therefore, when you see it in your students, you know how to address that as well. You're going to find those other students that are DIY students too. And what I find with those students is those students are really great at being leaders and mentors for other students, especially students that might be a little bit slow on the uptake with online searching or technology. And you don't even have to do like a traditional, like I'm going to pair this person with this person. You can just, do a hand raise, and have somebody who's done with their work or really good at navigating, have your little group. You could talk to those people and say, you people are going to be my people that help with this type of thing. And then bop, 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 you just set them up to help other people. And it helps with management in the classroom and it keeps you at a facilitation level. Oh, Adrian, I loved when you talked about the Jedi kittens. Yes, everybody needs Jedi kittens. And you were saying that I wonder if adding little clips like that to my own videos would be more engaging for my students. Kids love this kind of stuff. Adults love this kind of stuff. Think about some of the videos you see. It's funny. Stephen loves to watch like Jessica Free Channel and how it's made and stuff like that, and I do too. But sometimes, especially, so it was Friday and I got home from the final day of, teacher cleaning the classroom, that kind of stuff. And Stephen had on like an episode of, it wasn't how it was made, but it was something like that. And the guy's voice was like, these scientists have discovered that. And all as I could hear was that Charlie Brown, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, I looked at Stephen and I just went, no. And he's like, "No, what?" And I'm like, "I can't listen to like one of those 1970s like science documentaries from the high school classroom right now." And he started laughing. I mean, sometimes I can handle it, but our kids, it's okay to use humor to engage and to put clips in to engage. And one of the things that I was really impressed with my class this year is when they did PowerPoint presentations together on Constitution versus the Declaration, which document was more relevant. I required them in the assignment to put in animation, YouTube clips, sound bites, those types of things. And some of the things they put in were just hysterical. And the connections they made and the comedy they got, pulling things from Monty Python or funny parodies of the founding fathers with the Declaration of the Constitution. I mean, they nailed it. And we all enjoyed the presentation so much, and it makes it easier for people to humor is a way to relax people in situations like that, and to bring them into what you're trying to teach. I mean, you've seen the way that I teach on here. I talk to you as if you're in my house. I show you things. I make jokes about my husband, hopefully not at his expense too much, my animals, those types of things. And I try to bring you in by just being humorous and relaxed and having an intellectual conversation that doesn't have to be dry and boring. So I think, go ahead and put in clips, Jedi kittens that are going to make your kids love it. They're not going to forget it. Janine, I love your, I also love Screencastify, with that exclamation point. Uh, Last time I talked to you guys, remember I made the mistake about who was married and who was getting married and whatever. And Janine, I was glad that I left that mistake in because Janine kindly told me that my mistake wasn't too far off and that she was recently engaged. So congratulations, Janine. And once again, congratulations, Ashley, on your marriage. Um, Janine, there was something that you said in your post that made me laugh because I could hear, even though I don't know your voice, I could hear your voice. You said, I struggled with it at first, but when I realized I could pause it between thoughts, my videos dramatically improved. I also got over hearing the sound of my own voice. I currently love making little videos. Nobody cares about the sound of their own voice, but the people that are making the videos. And the more you do it, I don't even think about it anymore. And of course, I sing publicly and those types of things. But I remember when I first started recording many years ago, even like on a tape recorder, I was like, that's my voice. But it's just because we're not used to hearing it like this. So I loved that you said, oh, cattail. I love that you said that you got over that. And it's like anything. It's like the same thing that we tell the kids. The more you practice something like this, the better it gets. And you guys, you don't know how many times I made this video today. Maybe I made this video like 3 to 5 times. I didn't, but this is my second take, because I thought my first one was boring. And, I do it too. But I've also learned that if I make a mistake in the video, like I did with Janine and Ashley, I just move on. I figure it lets you see that I'm human, that I make mistakes, that I have to re-navigate at times, and that's a good thing for the kids to see as well. So Janine, I'm glad you're loving Screencastify, and I am glad that you are becoming more comfortable, making these. So please, continue. The more you practice, the more comfortable you're going to be. And that brings me to Kim Renee, because Kim Renee, you had said, I'm not sure about actually creating YouTube videos, but it's something I definitely need to consider. It's really easy to do. I mean, basically what I'm doing on this computer is I go on my photo booth, I make my video through photo booth, and then I upload it to my YouTube channel. You guys are able to see my Concordia YouTube channel. My students, I give them links so that they can see if I'll do flipped classroom and things like that on my YouTube channel. You can make it a YouTube channel private so that only your class can see these links, that only, you guys can see the links. That way, if you wanted to use kids or something like that in a presentation or anything, it would be private, and you would not be violating any social media laws or anything like that. Nobody would be able to see it. I have a lot of students that have their own YouTube channels that make projects for me and then just give me a private link so that I can see it, but that the public can't see them, doing whatever they're doing at the age that they are. So go ahead and try it, if you don't like it, you don't like it, but try it. I mean, it really is the wave of the future, and especially with all of those of you talking about flipped classroom. And I'm wondering if I'm going to get to the next person who actually brought up, I think. Let's see. Let me see if it's on my notes. Oh yeah, Joshua, you had talked about when you did the flipped classroom, you had pushback from parents, and I was like, wow. I was sorry to hear that, and I'm glad to hear that it's going better now. And I'm so interested in knowing what that pushback was. I think if somebody gave me pushback as a parent, I would just say, so you don't want to be involved in navigating your child's education, Mr. So-and-so? But, flipped classroom, a lot of people are afraid of technology, or you have to remember to look at equity. Do they have equitable technology at home that they're able to use? You were talking about people getting behind in the flipped classroom. If you find that students are having, what I do in high school is if you find that students are having a hard time navigating at home, or they're getting behind because they're not doing the videos, Have them stay in at nutrition, have them stay in at lunchtime tutoring, have them stay in at after school. Make it so that they can have their snack and work on the flipped classroom. You can even put it up on the big screen during nutrition or lunch, or if you have a team teacher that you could work with that would share time to let that student catch up. And for most kids, if you do that, they're going to start catching up on the flipped classroom and hopefully navigate back to them doing it on their own. But I was sorry to hear that you dealt with that with the parents. I have very rarely had that experience. Most parents are just kind of like, wow, when they see videos or know that you're going above and beyond to make sure that the kids have the lessons. And on top of it, when kids are absent or away, especially like in high school, it seems like they're off somewhere all the time, field trips and things like that. When I have those videos, then those kids are getting the information, for when they do come back. So I'm glad that that's working better for you now. Okay, let's see. Oh, I think it was Juanita. Yes. Juanita, you said, I agree with you that we need to model collaboration to our students. It's a skill that definitely needs to be taught and practiced throughout the year. I also was inspired by teachers working together to create Flipped Classrooms video. I really like that too. I like the teachers collaborating together. And, if you, of course, in ed technology, I would love to see you doing collaborative, videos with other teachers. But it can be as easy as, making appearances at your team teacher's classroom, which sounds silly, but my 10th grade feeder for English is right across from me. And so during my conference period, I often pop in, help with her students if she needs them. We have conversations. We share with the kids what they're doing in 10th grade and how it's going to affect their 11th grade work, and how we're layering the work, how they're learning this in 10th grade, and then they're going to add on in 11th grade. And the students really appreciate it. They like to see that we're friends. They like to see that we use our intellect together and not against each other. They like to know how all of the parts of the educational machine are working, and that, what they're doing in 10th is going to be relevant in 11th. So there's all sorts of ways that you can collaborate, without making just flipped classroom videos, which would be fabulous. But you can start small by, doing something like that so the kids can see. Back to when I was talking about the Declaration versus Constitution, we were practicing public speaking and a debate during that time period. And so I was able to get my American history, my AP teacher from next door, and we debated the Declaration and the Constitution for the kids. First, we debated with the kids, him against a group that was he was pro-Constitution, and they were, no Constitution. And I did the same thing. And it was funny to watch how nervous they got battling with us. They're like, we can't win you. And everybody was laughing and having a good time. And then they watched us debate each other, and they were like, whoa. And so that's great to be able to have people come in and just collaborate with what you're doing with your classroom. And it only takes a few minutes here or there, and you don't have to do it all of the time. But if you can just find a way to model that collaboration, they're going to get a lot out of it. They're going to see collaboration. They're going to see emotional intelligence. They're going to see a lot of things by seeing teachers work together as a team. And my last person, Elizabeth, I got such a kick out of what you said about your kids liked your videos because of your smart mouth and your bad mouth jokes. And that comes back to what Adrian was talking about with, should I add Jedi kittens? Absolutely. Your smart mouth and your bad mouth jokes made me laugh so hard when I read that, because I make horrific jokes about Edgar Allan Poe all the time. I have a picture of him and he's wearing a polo shirt, and the kids will be like, what's that picture, Miss Wood? And I'll be like, oh, that's Edgar in his polo shirt. They're like, oh, that's so bad. Or I'll be like, let's go on EAP's site and look at his poetry. And they're like, oh, stop. But they love it too. They love silly and corny and all of those types of things. Because why? Because it shows that you're human, and they love that. And we love that in the people that we meet too. So that's it. I have gone way too long. This is like a 25-minute video now. You're probably just going, oh, stop. But I wanted to get a good one in. So Have a wonderful week. No discussion board. Read that tech book. Do your book report. Let me check in your writing very closely on that. And once again, have a wonderful Father's Day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.